When Overlord's fourth season ended, many fans felt like the story was only just beginning. And that is not an exaggeration. In fact, the events that come after this point could completely change everything we know about Ainz and the future of Nazarick. The question is simple. What really happens in Overlord after Season 4? Up to this point, Ainz has conquered territories, destroyed armies, and turned the Sorcerer Kingdom into one of the most powerful nations in the New World. But contrary to what many fans believe, this is not the peak of the story. It is only the beginning of an even more ambitious phase. And the first clue lies in the arc that many anime-only fans have not seen yet. The Roble Holy Kingdom. What happened? In volumes 12 and 13 of the light novel, adapted in Overlord, the Sacred Kingdom, Ainz intervenes in a war against Jaldabaoth and ultimately becomes an almost messianic figure to characters such as Neia Baraja. Why is this important? Because his influence stops being purely political and military and begins extending into ideology and faith. As a result, Ainz is no longer seen only as a powerful ruler, but as a symbol capable of inspiring devotion, and that dramatically expands the reach of Nazarick. But this is still not the biggest change. There is another arc that takes the story in a completely new direction. The Elf Country. What happened? Beginning with Volume 15, Ainz travels with Ora Bellafiora and Mare Bellofiori to the territory ruled by the Elf King. Why is this important? Because for the first time, Ora and Mare take center stage, and the story develops two of the series' most beloved characters in much greater depth. As a result, the world of Overlord continues to expand as new enemies and cultures are introduced. But the most interesting part is not just the journey itself. It is what that journey represents. Until now, many of Ainz's actions have been shaped by his subordinates' interpretations and by unexpected circumstances. In the Elf Country, he continues trying to act as the perfect ruler while facing situations that test his adaptability. And this reinforces one of the most fascinating aspects of Overlord, the gap between the image of an all-knowing genius that Nazarick sees and the inner insecurity of Suzuki Satoru. Yes, beneath everything, he is still just a former office worker trying not to disappoint NPCs who worship him like a god. Not bad for someone who only logged in to say goodbye to his friends. But there is another factor that makes the future of the series even more significant: the approaching end of the light novel itself. Kugane Maruyama has indicated that Overlord is moving toward its conclusion. What happened? The story is entering its final volumes, meaning that current conflicts are part of the preparation for the ultimate ending. Why is this important? Because each new arc is not only expanding the world, but also placing Ainz in increasingly decisive situations. As a result, every event now carries even greater weight. And this is where the most intriguing theories begin. Will Ainz finally encounter other players? Will someone in the new world discover his true insecurities? Will Nazarick remain united until the very end? Or will the greatest threat come from within rather than from outside? These questions become more relevant with every new volume, because Overlord has never been just about battles. It is also a story about power, interpretation, loyalty, and the consequences of decisions made by someone who is often improvising. And that leads us to the true future of the series. Ainz continues to expand his influence. Nazarick continues to spread its presence. New kingdoms enter the story. Important characters gain greater depth, and the scale of the narrative keeps growing. What began as the story of a player trapped in an unfamiliar world has evolved into the story of someone capable of reshaping the destiny of entire civilizations. And that makes what comes next even more fascinating. In the end, the future of Overlord after Season 4 is far greater than most fans imagine. The Roble Holy Kingdom expands Ainz's influence. The Elf Country arc deepens central characters. Theories about the ending become increasingly compelling, and the story moves into its most decisive phase. Now tell me, which of these possibilities interest you the most? Do you believe Ainz will continue conquering the new world, or do you think his greatest challenge is still hidden within Nazarick? Subscribe to the channel, because there are still many hidden details in Overlord that completely change the way we see this story.